Nerd Academy Podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy Podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
Good morning, class, and welcome back to episode 63 of the Nerd Academy Podcast, the show where your favorite nerds bring you all the news and commentary in the world of nerddom. I am your host and headmaster, Jarod Buckman Stubbs. Travis and Lexi couldn't make it this time. I'm starting to think they're avoiding ComicBookCast people. I'm starting to think they're avoiding our friends over at CBC, probably because they know that I geek out every time they're on. And it's just embarrassing at this point. But I am joined by good old Mitch from the ComicBookCast.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Hope everyone is well. And I got to say, that jingle at the start is fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much. In my opinion, the best intro is Movie Club. Movie Club has the best intro music. Speaking of which, next week, we won't be covering Falcon and the Winter Soldier yet. We're going to do our Snyder Cut review. And then the week after that, we're going to recap the first 2 episodes of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But for now, if you want to get prepped for the Snyder Cut, go check out the latest episode of Movie Club, where we did our review of Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Cut. But we're here now. And we're going to talk about something that I think we can all agree is objectively good.
I hope we can all agree it's objectively good. I hope.
Me and my bad takes on BVS aside, it's funny because one of my buddy Devin, who I brought into the Nerd Academy to do Movie Club with, because he's even more of just like a general movie buff than I am. He and I saw the same screening of Batman v Superman opening night, like 8 p.m. March 9 p.m. March 24th. And then like by the time the movie was over, midnight has passed. It was March 25th. And like during the movie, I had turned 18. So happy birthday to me from Zack Snyder, I guess. But Devin has never let me down, or never let me live down the fact that when the movie had ended, I stood up, stretched, and very loudly went, "Better than Avengers." And I don't remember saying it.
Spicy take.
It's not one I stand by.
Which Avengers, though? Which Avengers?
I was referring to the first one.
No, the first one.
Because I still say Age of Ultron is criminally underrated. But
I would agree. Absolutely agree.
Yeah, so everybody got to bust my balls over that on Movie Club. So all that said, we're not talking about Zack Snyder this week. That'll be next week for probably like a 5-hour review. We are talking WandaVision. We are doing our season review for WandaVision. Everything's all wrapped up, and we're going to talk about the show as a whole. We've been doing weekly reviews, kind of nickel and diming through the show, but now we're going to talk about the whole shebang in one go. And we're going to start, and I give the floor to you, Mitch. We're going to start with our favorite overall episode.
Oh, favorite episode. I've had this conversation before, and I can't remember which one I landed on, to be perfectly honest. I think it was a toss-up between the Halloween episode and the flashback. The previously on.
Okay.
It's one of those two, and I think it changes every time to which one's my favorite one. I think right now I'll probably say the previously on episode, because it did so much in such a little short amount of time. Whereas the Halloween one's just more of a fun time.
I think for me, it's between Halloween Spooktacular and Breaking the Fourth Wall, episodes 6 and 7, respectively.
What happened in Breaking the Fourth Wall? What was that one?
That one is where Vision and Darcy link up, and it ends with the Agatha all along sting.
Oh yeah, the one before the previously on, yeah.
Yeah, which I do want to talk a lot about Agatha all along because I have opinions, but
spicy opinions.
Spicy. They're hopefully not dog shit ones like a younger Jarod had at one point. But opinions nonetheless. I like Halloween Spooktacular because that kind of gave us the that was the week where we all got to kind of like soak in like what the hell's going on with Quicksilver? What is this whole situation about? And that was a lot of fun. Same thing going into Breaking the Fourth Wall, trying to figure out why certain things are happening the way they are, the expansion of the hex, and then it ends with Agatha all along, and then we got all the fun of everybody going, okay, we were all right about Agatha Harkness.
Yep.
What else are we right about? And moving forward there. So I don't know. I think I might go Breaking the Fourth Wall.
It's a good episode. It is a really good episode.
It's a really good episode.
Also gave us number one on iTunes hit single of Agatha all along. Whoever would have thought that Catherine Hahn and the Scarlet Witch series would have a number one on iTunes? What a world we live in right now.
One made by Wanda, I guess.
Oh, if only.
This is hard. I made this and I didn't even make up my mind yet.
It's difficult. There's the problem with the show. Every episode, no matter what you think of the last one, is good. There's no bad episode in this thing. So picking a favorite is a very difficult question.
I agree with you completely. I will also say with Breaking the Fourth Wall, it had probably my favorite use of the whole sitcom bit.
Yeah.
It went so hard with the Office Modern Family style mockumentary.
Yeah.
That like it was so funny, and
so it lends itself just to the idea of the show really well. Like if this whole thing is supposed to be a therapy session for the character, literally having that stare at the camera, you talking to someone about everything, it really does help push that along. I did appreciate it.
Yeah, that, and one of my favorite little elements of Breaking the Fourth Wall was the fact that the off-screen director producer who goes, "Do you blame yourself?" That is Catherine Hahn's voice pitched all the way down.
Just lowered, yeah.
And that it's little stuff like that just gets me giddy and makes me.
I tell you, there was a thing with that when that episode aired and they did the Agatha all along bit, and you see her sitting behind there. My initial thing was that wasn't her though, and it was only a couple of days later when everyone's like changing their pitch and their voice and putting those videos out to go viral and everything. It's just like, I don't know why it didn't cross my mind that they had done something like that after literally everything else they've done. Like all these misdirects, all these red herrings. And it's just like, why would it not have been that? Of course she's changed her voice to do it.
Then there's me who's going, oh yes, the director's Mephisto.
You weren't the only one. But I have to say, I did tell everybody.
You did. You absolutely did. And I think it was when we reviewed previously on was when I finally retired Mephisto. I did not
let it go at a decent point. You didn't cling on to the end and still clinging on like some people are.
No, I do hope that there are some ramifications that affect him, because I think it's a very easy way to bring him in. But you had to retire Mephisto at some point. But yeah, I think one of my favorite moments in Breaking the Fourth Wall is the way it's edited, especially in the moment where Vision goes like, "What the hell am I doing here talking to you?" And like it just cuts back to him flying up and phasing through the truck.
That is probably one of that Vision sequence there is probably one of the best things I've ever done.
I agree.
The whole him looking at the camera in the van, the whole I'm not amused bit, the realizing like, what am I even doing? I can just fly. Like watching it, you're like, why is he in this van? He can fly. Like I get it's a sitcom, but just fly. Just fly. It's a sitcom. I get it. And then he just does it. It killed me. Absolutely killed me. I loved it. Loved it. Bettany plays that off so well. People forget he's a
so
funny
good.
man. Like,
He's
got such
so
good
damn
comedic
good.
timing.
Tying into this, and this is probably going to be the hardest one. Least favorite episode.
Oh, that's a hard question. See, if I hadn't have rewatched the entire thing, I probably would have said the first.
Okay.
Right. I can't say that after rewatching it, because if you've watched A Good Place and you see that initial twist that they pull off, and then if you go back and watch it, everything's all there. It's about on par. Like, Catherine Hahn walks in and she's asking all these questions, and you see it for the first time, like, oh, she's just, she's literally just being a nosy neighbor. She's literally just asking everything that she wants to know. And just purely for that, I can't put that one at the bottom. So I think it might have to be the second episode. Just because they gave me that little carrot and a stick of Arcana, and then they end up whipping it away from me and being nothing. So
I think I'm with you. I think I'm with you on Don't Touch That Dial, because at least for me, and I said this whenever you guys were on before, I am very much with this kind of narrative, any type of supernatural mystery. My focus is always on like cracking the mystery.
Yeah.
And in the grand scheme of things, I feel like Don't Touch That Dial added the least amount of...
I was gonna say it was Monica's episode, if anything. It was to get her in there.
Yeah. It's that, and I don't know. I don't dislike, like you said, I don't dislike any of these, but in the grand scheme, film before a live studio audience, like, it has to start somewhere, and we're already starting to see the weird fissures in what's happening. We get the beginnings of Agnes / Agatha kicking around, but Don't Touch That Dial. I feel like the only thing we really get is the sword drone.
And so you get the idea that she can... Is it the idea of edits that start in that episode?
No, that is in episode 3, Now in Color.
Yeah.
Which is where there's like
right.
the Wanda, don't you think something's wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, no, because that she rewinds it at the end with the beekeeper.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
So that's it lays... It's the Iron Man 2 situation, isn't it? It lays the foundation for a lot of things to come, and you have to do that at some point. So you bite the bullet, you take it out. Like, they did it really well. But I think as well, it's very similar to the first episode.
Yeah,
like the 50s, 60s. There's differences, but there's not a huge glaring difference. Like, the second you get to the 70s and the 80s, it's vastly different to the first two.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Mm-hmm.
Moving along here. Okay, we're gonna talk favorite characters. I put an S at the end of that word for a reason.
Good. You're asking these hard questions, man. I thought it was gonna be easy. But...
I like to do a little recap, kind of run the gamut on how we were feeling. Trust me, this was like pulling teeth trying to do this for season 2 of The Mandalorian.
I can imagine.
And every answer just not be Luke, Ahsoka, Din, Luke, Ahsoka, Din. It was really hard.
You mean to say no one chose Kara?
No, I don't know who you're talking about. Who's Kara? Who?
Karen.
Who?
Karen.
Karen. Oh, fuck that bitch. Anyway, enjoy working with Benny Shabibo. Anyway, favorite characters. Like I said, doesn't have to be any rhyme or reason. You can give as many as you like, but I do want to get into some of the character work here, because some of the best MCU performances are in these 9 episodes.
Oh, 100%. I say Olsen and Bettany. It kind of makes me resent the fact they didn't have more in the movies. They've had to wait like 6 years to get a time to shine. You can watch Infinity War and they're both fantastic in that for the 5 minutes or 10 minutes they get.
Yeah.
But everything else is favorite. I mean, Phil Jones. How can you not like Phil Jones? Old Phil.
Yeah, I like.
No, he didn't have a lot of time, but he had a massive impact.
As far I want to say this. As far as Westview citizens go, now I'm blanking on the name. The guy with the mustache.
Phil.
That's what I thought. I started to brain fart. I'm like, are we talking about the same guy?
Yeah. We are.
His whole like face and demeanor and countenance for everything. He just made me laugh every time he was on screen.
When Dottie asks him if he looks fat and the lights go off, it's comedy gold. He's fantastic.
My favorite, again, probably in the second episode, is the he turns around and goes, such and such is a communist, and then they all just stop, and there's just the like really overly loud belly laugh he lets out. I cackled the first time I saw the episode. I was like, I laughed loud enough for my family to go, what the hell is that noise? And I was like, they're talking about communism. That's all. I'm just
Norm's a communist.
Norm's a communist.
Or Norm.
Also, the guy who plays Norm, anybody who's on TikTok, please go follow him. Is the funniest shit.
I keep meaning to watch that spoiler video he done, and I just haven't. I see it everywhere. I just haven't got around to it.
He's done several where people will leave like really. It'll be stuff that is not even related to plot. It'll just be like, hey, what was it like working with Elizabeth Olsen? He'd be like, oh man, working with Lizzie. And then like the very specific TikTok meme music will kick on. And he's like, do you want me to get fired? I have a family to feed. This is my job. I need that Marvel money. Leave me alone. It's so funny as shit. Again, phenomenal supporting cast, like everybody.
I'm gonna say everyone was fantastic in this.
Overall, like I loved Paul Bettany throughout all of this.
So and he definitely shined in this. He was really damn good.
Despite the memes, I think I'm spoiling the next to last topic here a little bit. The ship of Theseus might be one of my favorite scenes in the whole show.
It's so good. I mean, you could argue it's very film student-y, but the way they pulled that off, because that part was...
I like the way you put that. It's very
it's so all it needs to be do is be in black and white, and it'd been a perfect film student.
In French. Yeah.
But it's that they took a moment where honestly they kind of lost me. And I was like, he's unwise and he's pointing his forehead at himself. It's not even himself, he's pointing his forehead at nothing. And then he's doing it on the flip side. And then they have that moment. It's just like, this is the vision I love. It's the vision everyone wants. Just give us more of this. And I could have sat there for 20 minutes just watching that conversation go down.
Absolutely. And it's the way that the fight comes to a screeching halt, and the moment he's able to get a word in edgewise, it's the white vision just kind of stops and goes, keep saying words. I need to don't stop. Explain. And I love that. I love that on both sides, like it does devolve into a conversation.
Yeah. And it's what it needed to be. They gave you the big bombastic comic book goodness, and then it's like, no, this is more in character for these two.
Yeah. So Paul, he's acting his ass off. And granted, everything I love about Wanda in this show this is not a slight against Elizabeth Olsen, has more to do with the writing than it does with her performance. But she is needed to bring that all killer, no filler script to life.
Yeah.
And the way that she handles, again, as an actor, the choices she makes, especially whenever, again, she learns that she's been doing everything. And the way that it takes her like 0.2 seconds to go, oh, okay, we're done here now. That once she becomes cognizant of the fact that she's manipulating these people, she's controlling these people, she's torturing these people. Once she recognizes it, all bets are off.
Yeah.
And it's the way that Wanda is still at the very beginning there, because she doesn't get it yet, is still bartering and is still like rejecting reality, where it's like, You're happy. You're safe. I'm taking care of you. No, you're not. We hate it here. And there's just something so magnetic about her performance. And
I say, not like I would say, she had a tough job, but they all had such a tough job. They had to emulate multiple decades worth of sitcom acting styles. And
yeah,
I think mainly for that reason alone, because I like to think this whole thing has been stalling for just to let me have time to think of my favorite character. But I think in the end, it's like, I don't think I can choose one because they all did it so well. I don't think anyone fluctuated. Like, I don't think I can say Monica was worse in this scene than she was in that episode situation. I think they're all consistently on that same level, and they all did. Like, sure, some characters aren't as great as others, like Hayward. Hayward's a bit nah. At the end of the day, he did what he needed to do, and he did it well, but he's not going to get on any of my lists. But
yeah, I agree. What I will say, and this isn't even like a defense of Hayward as a character, by the end, he felt like such a fish out of water.
Yeah.
By the end, he in a show that is very nuanced, that is like, okay, here's the superhero who's doing a not very heroic thing, and this is how we got here. And then you have a true adversary, I don't want to say villain, but an adversary in Agatha Harkness, whom also is a very clear A to B, this is how we got here type character. And then you have Hayward, who just practically without any provocation just gets out and gets ready to unload into these kids.
Yeah.
Like, I remember laughing at it when I watched it. I was like, this is cartoonish. And for a show that is
that's the biggest problem with that character. He's not cartoon. He's comically dickish for a lot of it. But then he gets to that point and it's like, no, now you're laughably dickish. Like you kind of overstepped yourself a little bit there. You can pull it back a little bit, but whether we're going to see it again, I don't know. But
I would be surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't mind having him back. I said before, there's just something about that actor and like his intonation and the way he speaks that made me like Hayward, but it was just because I like the sound of his voice.
I could never get on board for personal bias. I was like, no, you've gone for the wrong character here. If it was anyone else, I might have agreed, but not this one. I've been waiting too long for this show. You leave her alone.
But what you were saying a moment ago, I agree with completely. There's like that old actor's adage that the hardest thing to do is comedy.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot easier to be sad and depressing and serious than it is to be funny. And
I don't think there was any one moment that fell flat for me when they were trying to be funny.
I don't think I can think of a single joke. Like even in a moment like that, there might have been some Quicksilver stuff, but then again, like that wasn't meant to be straight up funny. It was meant to be.
I think it helps because they can lean on it's the sitcom, like it's the sitcom style. It's the trope of a sitcom to do it this way. And it's like, well, I would have found that funny like 30 years ago when Malcolm, well, not 30 years ago when Malcolm in the Middle was out, but like 20 odd years ago. It's just like, it's funny now. It's funny because it's taking the piss out of how unfunny it actually is. It's ironically funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Favorite and least favorite. Like least favorite's easy because Hayward has like the least to do. Also, we talked about this last week. The kids, Billy and Tommy.
Oh, they were so good. Like, I love those kids.
There are some child actors that you look at and you go, you have a very promising career ahead of you, kid. Like,
yeah,
you were going to be making.
And then there are some where it's like, you tried. There was an attempt there.
Yeah. Jake Lloyd deserved better, but I feel the need to reiterate that every time. But I love Billy and Tommy, and I really do hope something will. I'll save that thought. moving along here, and I want to put this in the middle of the show with this conversation. Theories and such are the wolfsbane of any type of nerd media.
Oh, yeah. Especially when you're wrong. Especially when you're wrong. Can't relate personally, but when you're wrong, it kind of stings sometimes.
Funny man. I have seen a lot of people. I've seen a lot of people talking about people who are mad because their theory didn't turn out correct.
Yeah,
I've not personally seen a lot of that.
Oh, I've seen it everywhere.
Okay. Again, I'm not going to burn down a town because we didn't see Mephisto. It's fine. I will say, I think that frustration with the boner thing is valid.
To a certain extent, I agree.
I like the bait and switch. I like that they went, we're going to pick a former Quicksilver and we're going to game you against the show because we know how people are going to process that information. That was genius. I don't mind Agatha's explanation where she's like, yeah, he looks nothing like your brother, but you were so desperate you'd accept it, and we both knew that. Cool. That's why Pietro looking nothing like himself is fine. Cool.
I'll say he's like the big thing now. I think a lot of people have missed this. I don't want to be one of these like you just didn't understand it, people. Like, I hate being that guy, but it's the 5 stages of grief. That much is obvious, right?
Yes.
Those
yes,
two episodes where he shows up and then he's there the entire way is her bargaining phase. People going, why didn't you just get Aaron Taylor Johnson back? That wouldn't have worked. You needed someone else. Yes, you could have gone literally any other actor, but the half of the show is literally telling you to make theories up and giving you these bait and switches and all red herrings. So why would you not use Peter Evans? There's no one can answer that, or at least people that I've asked, they haven't got an actual legitimate answer for that question. All it boils down to is I thought it was going to be this, and it wasn't that, so I'm mad about it. And completely ignoring everything else. I think it's, I don't know. I was totally fine with it. I think the fact that people think it was all just for a dick joke, I think it's hilarious as someone who didn't want it to be the Foxmen Quicksilver. So it just being a dick joke, I think just elevated that, and I still laugh about it today. Just like all that, and it's a dick joke, like unlucky. But
see, for me, I did not think, nor did I want it to be Foxmen Quicksilver.
No, I would have been like how they are now if it was, and if they made her a mutant. And I know that deep down, I would have actually been really mad if they went that route.
See, I just altogether did not want to see any mutant stuff here. Period. I wanted to see more of the magic side of things. I also think that it's not a bad idea to maybe change some stuff about Wanda's origins in the comics, simply because if the MCU isn't going to lean into her heritage at all, it's best to kind of soft reboot all of it for her.
This is the thing. They haven't disregarded anything. If you go way back, Agatha literally tells you here, the Scarlet Witch isn't born, she's forged. Like, you go way back, I think it's Avengers 86 or 87. There's an issue, I think it's called The Witch of Wundagore, or The Witch on Wundagore Mountain. It's one of the two. Right. It's in there that Cthulhu touched Wanda as a child, and that's why she's got all these powers. And they heavily allude to that in this with that one line.
Oh, yeah. I'm all of that stuff. I meant more in the way that I've seen a lot of people talking about how she's kind of been whitewashed.
Oh, that's it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. I love Olsen in this role. I think she's fantastic. Would I have liked to have seen an actual accurate Scarlet Witch, a Romani actor? Yes.
Agreed. And I'm with you on that. And that's why I'm saying that maybe if you're not going to bring all of it to bear, it's better off to do a little bit of playing in a different sandbox and maybe not making her a part of the like real life oppressed people of her being, Jewish and Romani, and also maybe not letting her not be a mutant.
Yeah, no, I get you. Yeah.
Once that shoe drops, and I like the whole her and Pietro being related to Magneto thing, but I also get why it doesn't.
Did your light just turn off?
Yeah, it did. I think pretty sure my house lost power, but computer's still going and we're still recording somehow. So that was interesting.
I was going to say the lights are still on. That's maybe you got a hex.
Please stand by.
Man, internet issues for me, electrical issues for Jarod. What a time.
Quit fucking with my set, Wanda.
Your subconscious is fine.
Anyhow, don't know how that happened, but I feel like removing her from like the mutant side of things and just really leaning into the magical side of everything might be the best way to kind of obfuscate continuing to make the mistake of the whitewashing of Wanda Maximoff.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
So all of that said, I still feel like there were I feel like there's enough evidence for Mephisto to be a valid theory. The people who went hog wild saying X-Men would be introduced and Reed Richards, like what the shit? That one made my head hurt. I would have been.
Reed Richards is a really good example of what people have been doing for years, and it's I know a thing, I've seen someone say a thing, I'm going to run with that thing. And I think a lot of the House of M that people go, oh, no, this is clearly House of M. They're going to do it backwards, and she's going to say mutants, even though she's not one herself, and it makes no sense contextually or narratively to even do that. And it's like it's the curse of fan theories. Someone has one, someone likes it. We know they're coming. It has to be here because I said so.
Yeah. And again, there's some stuff that made sense, like the idea of whenever they were joking about the cameo and a very leading question to go, okay, maybe it's Strange because we know she's going to be in this movie. There were some that made
Doctor Strange is perfectly reasonable to get to. Reed Richards, maybe I get it because aerospace engineer, space engineer, Reed smart. I get it. I don't think it was the best fit. But something like Strange, like you're obviously going to think he's going to show up in it because why wouldn't he? I'm honestly, I was surprised he wasn't. But
yeah, I really thought that post-credit scene of her in the cabin, he didn't show up, and again, I'm fine with it. And again, now that we know that this show is meant to be Wanda processing her grief, the theories that Travis and I kind of cooked up going into the show about, well, this is how Multiverse of Madness happens. She's going to break shit.
Yeah.
She's going to tear the fabric.
Understandable because, you have this reality bending and altering character. She's literally a Nexus being. She is in charge of balance throughout the multiverse. Why would you not assume she's going to do something? Why, this mentally unstable character has a breakdown through grief and trauma, and she subconsciously does all this to the multiverse. Like, yeah, of course she's going to do that, but again, it's something they didn't do. And again, I was shocked they didn't do that. Because how?
I'm glad in the grieving woman breaks everything trope that the show was already skirting towards and immediately is able to dodge that bullet.
Yeah, it could have very easily have landed. Yeah.
Yeah. So the fact that they go, oh yeah, once she realizes what she's doing, she stops. And it is not grief and mental illness makes you evil bullshit.
No.
And I'm glad that they didn't have it.
I think they might play with that in Doctor Strange, but I don't think it's going to be intentional again.
I think with Doctor Strange, it's different. I think at that point, it's Wanda messing with shit she does not understand and is biting off more than she can chew.
Yeah.
And I think there it's framed differently because we see her, reading the Darkhold and, doing this form of astral projection that even Strange can't do.
Is she doing an astral projection because she's not transparent?
She was glowy. I thought that was the effect they were going for.
See, my thing was
kind of force ghosty.
My takeaway from that was she's made a duplicate of herself. If she's just being a spontaneous creation and you don't want to be disturbed, despite living in a small cabin at the bottom of clearly Wondergore, you're going to make a decoy. You can read the book in the back and decoy can do decoy things out front. At least that was my takeaway. She's
transparent or not?
I don't think she is. I think there's definitely a glow to that scene. But I took it as it's the Darkhold and the weird orbs and symbols around her.
Yeah, there's her. She's walking. She's pouring tea. We're panning through the hallway, up and around. Yes, she's definitely not transparent.
Because this is my takeaway again. I'd find it odd for something where they were so consistent with the rules of magic. We've had Doctor Strange take Thor's head to open a door to where Odin is. And we've had Agatha take Wanda's hair to open a door to her memories. So we have that
great point. I didn't even occur to me that they kept that through line. Yeah. That's great.
So despite being different forms of magic, because Strange is clearly like Eldritch and this is something way different, to not have a transparency to one, like an obvious clear transparency and a similar look would have been odd to me. So I think having Agatha being being a spontaneous creation, and then for her not to, because wouldn't that be the first thing you do? Reading this book about yourself, and it's like, if I can just make anything, I'm just going to make myself. That way we get another set of Olsen twins. So it's not all bad.
That's funny. Also, just looking at this, she couldn't be on, and somebody needs to say it again. The horrifyingly uncanny way that Scarlet Witch's final form is just Lexi is still mildly terrifying. It's the hair. I don't know if you've watched any of the video shows, but it's literally the same hair.
I don't think I've seen one with Lexi. No. I'll go back and check.
It's hilarious because she had this is she's always liked the Marvel stuff, but she had never quite had the chance to find her character, the one that spoke to her, and getting to watch this, she was like, oh my god, I love Wanda, I can't wait. She's losing her shit. She's loving this character. And then the final episode airs. I watch it the night it came out, and she and Travis hadn't watched it together yet. And Travis and I were getting takeout to come back here to record our movie trivia Schmodown podcast. And I told him in the car, I was like, I don't want to spoil the finale for you, but I give her 0.5 seconds of watching this show before the next words out of her mouth are, I'm cosplaying Scarlet Witch and none of you can stop me. And literally, I messaged. I got a message. We were talking and something. I'm watching WandaVision with Travis. Oh, cool! And almost exactly 40 minutes later, I get a notification on Twitter. I'm cosplaying Scarlet Witch.
Yeah,
And I was like, "Yep,
it's a good suit. I've come around on that suit."
I saw you weren't thrilled with the suit at first, and I was very perplexed by that.
I have gone through all the I have gone through my stages of grief with this suit. I really have. And those posters came out where there's little glimpses of it. Hated it. I was like, no, do not like the chest to the neck look at all. Don't open shoulders, blah. And then, you know, just as it went on, the finale came round. And I was like, oh, it's got the crown, the wimple on it. I can't look a gift horse in the mouth. That's all I really wanted out of the show anyway. Well, not all.
I love it.
Show.
And even though I don't much care for X-Men Apocalypse, the fact that she looks like her maybe dad in that movie thrilled me. But that's beside the point.
I despise that comparison with my entire being.
I'm sorry, but they look very similar.
That's part of the reason why I hate it, because it's like I can't deny it. It's like, God damn it, like, they do. I don't get when people say the designs are similar. It's like there's different like styles in the lines. They're nothing alike. The colors, yes.
The colors, yeah, and I could see a version of the Brotherhood of Mutants that they kind of look uniform next to each other. Because obviously Magneto is more of like a magenta than a red, and hers is like a very deep red, almost a burgundy.
I was gonna say in this it's very much like a burgundy color, yeah. Which I'm certain for a show that relied heavily on visual language, that is a cue. That is not to be that's not to be ignored, especially with what she's doing at the end. Like,
yeah, but like I said, we're on theory and expectation discourse. Just remember, you can't go into these types of stories and expecting the creators to tell you your story. You get to see the creator make a story, and it's fun to theorize about it.
I say it's really fun to theorize about it. You know, I spent 8 weeks spamming my Twitter followers with theories and crap that I didn't believe half the time. I was like, this is a fun idea. It ain't going to happen, but I'm going to put it out there anyway, just in case.
Listen, I will say my favorite theory that I did hear about all of WandaVision was the last time you and Armin were on, and we were talking about like maybe the attempt to reforge the Infinity Stones. That was my favorite theory, bar none.
Yeah, I wish if I was to change one thing narratively, it was that they kind of lent into the, hang on, she just made an Infinity Stone again. Like, what does that mean? No, that's got to do something, but they didn't. And maybe it's in Doctor Strange. I don't know. We'll have to find out in a year. But quick, this all ties into theories and expectations. But I was watching the Scrubs season 8 finale last night.
Yeah,
and that entire episode is about expectations and not letting them get to you. And it's something I think people should watch. You know, you don't have to know every tiny little detail going forward. Just let it happen. No, it doesn't always go your way. But hey, that's just part of life. Doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Just didn't go the way you necessarily thought you wanted it to.
As a great comic book movie from 2019 said, that's life.
What movie was that?
It was Joker. I was making a Joker
joke.
joke.
God. Oh, I pushed that movie so far out of my brain.
I try to.
I legitimately forgot for a minute that movie existed.
That's a good time. But I do want to talk about the future implications of WandaVision, and I do want to start with talking about the Mind Stone. I interpreted, this is me, and fully admit you outclassed me on comic knowledge, but like I know my shit, but y'all know your shit.
I know what I know. I don't know everything. I don't even know that much in the grand scheme of things, but the bits that I know about, I like to think I know about.
And that is why I will happily tip my hat and say whenever I am outclassed in certain moments, because I Can't put my foot in my mouth sometimes. Quasar, haha, it's the last time we're going to make that joke because we're done with the show now. But I interpreted the Mind Stone bit as how Wanda talks about a part of the Mind Stone lives within her.
Yeah.
That the physical Mind Stone we see in Vision does not technically exist the same way he doesn't.
Well, that's the question.
And
did he actually exist or did he not?
I think, and I'm mixing my terminology here a little bit, but I think for all intents and purposes, after we see the way he starts to disintegrate when he comes out of the hex for a little bit, I think he's just kind of like a glorified hologram.
Yeah, but then Agatha has that line where she says, you tied your family to this creation. And that was the flaw. They can't exist out of here because you've tied them to this fake world you've created. Whereas, which I think, again, going back to the whole, it's a duplicate of her at the end. That's why it's a duplicate. She's going to learn to do that with the kids.
Interesting. I like that. That's very interesting.
You, for me anyway, for someone that's tried to self-teach himself about how they do these story structures, you don't throw out a line of you're a being of spontaneous creation and then never play with that idea. And she's lost the family that she's always wanted because she didn't do this thing herself. It was all subconscious, and she's taken it down. She's learned to let it go. She's had to watch them go. Like, you're going to try and get them back, but you're going to do it better next time. And if you're going to learn about yourself, and if you're going to learn that you can create things on a whim, well, then you're going to have to learn to not tie things to certain aspects of magic and spells. So when one disappears, the other one stays.
I guess that would make sense to say that the Mind Stone isn't necessarily real, but it is real within the Hex and Westview.
Yeah, yeah.
That, like, let's say hypothetically Thanos came knocking again for whatever reason. If he pulled the Mind Stone from Vision's head again, he could use it within the confines of the Hex, but outside of it, that Mind Stone isn't real.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You look at the whole Monica outfit. You know, she went in wearing a Kevlar vest and she came out wearing era appropriate attire. So what she's doing, at least with that wasn't something out of nothing like Vision and the kids were, but it's now that thing. It has the properties of the old thing, but it's now this thing. So part of me really wants to say that Doctor Strange is going to play with that idea. I don't know if that's me just kind of hoping they're going to play with that idea. It'll be odd to have a lot of talk in these movies recently about the safety of these realities without Infinity Stones, and then to never touch on the idea of not having Infinity Stones. But we'll have to see on that one.
Yeah, that would make sense, because here's my what I think might be happening with the future of the future implications of the show is that when we hear the kids yelling in the post-credit scene to her, I feel like that is when she realizes they do still exist in some capacity.
Yeah, yeah.
And that are kind of trapped between realities. And that's where her breaking the multiverse comes into play. And that the way you get around that, and it's not, oh, you're grieving and you have this trauma, therefore you are evil. It's the last time I did it by accident, and this time I tried it, but I fucked it up bad.
Yeah.
That again, it's just like a series of like Wanda being too powerful than more powerful than she realizes, and capable
she's
of way more.
She's thrown herself in the deep end. She's doing a trial by fire, and unfortunately, the rest of the world's on fire. But
yeah, the first time you got a pass because you didn't do it. You didn't know you did.
Did she get a pass? She's very not got a pass.
Not a pass, but like there's an amount of like.
Monica gave her a pass. I don't know if everyone else has yet.
I like the fact that Wanda's like, they are going to think things about me that I cannot change, which is fair. And I love that Scarlet Witch is not taking the offensive of, I didn't do it on purpose, therefore you can't be angry with me.
You know what Vision taught her, don't you? She can't control their fear, only her own.
Precisely. But I have a hard time, like, I don't think Wanda should like get slapped with cuffs for what happened.
I mean, she does what they're going to do.
Yeah, but
they couldn't stop her before. They ain't got a hope in hell now.
Yeah, there is a deficit of Avengers these days. But I it's because she didn't know what she was doing, and then once she actually realized like how far this went, she ended it immediately.
There was a slight little hesitation, but everyone's going to have that because it's not even a hesitation. It's more the realization of like, oh, this is bad. Like, I need to actually get it down now.
Exactly. Because she said, like, she thought everything, like, once she realized she could alter stuff, I think she means what she says when she thought everybody was all cool and groovy.
Yeah. It's not in her. Why people think she did this all intentionally and, she's actively torturing people. It's like, have you seen the 20 minutes of her character in any of these movies or watched anything? That's not what Wanda's like. Why would she ever do that?
She looks mortified whenever Dottie comes up to her. She looks absolutely terrified when she's like, I want to hold my daughter. And she's like, I did what? Huh?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why, again, like maybe not a pass, and maybe it would be wise for her and Strange to kind of have a student-teacher thing going on to some extent.
I hope Strange is like, what you're doing doesn't exist. Get out. I really want that to be brought in. It's like chaos magic. It's not a thing. You're doing something. I don't know what. It's Infinity Stone garbage. And he's like, oh no. Oh, this is a thing. What do I do? Help.
I would enjoy that a lot. And give Strange a little bit of a chin check because he's still a little bit of a prick. He's not quite over his prickness yet.
The car crash wasn't enough.
The car crash was not enough. Smash Strange's hands again, 2021.
Smash his feet this time.
Smash his feet.
Not a teacher.
He's just taken up doing marathons now. And he's become damn good at it.
He's realized he's floating too much and he needs to actually get active again and start moving. So
yeah, something like that. But yeah, that's how I want to see her come into play with Multiverse of Madness. Or I think it's also completely valid that something else goes haywire and Strange is like, I know of one other magician who can help me. And maybe word of the Westview incident gets back to him.
Well, so this is the question. Where has he been? Where has he been? What's he been doing? Old Agatha over here is like, I don't know how far away she was, but she's like, how the fuck could anyone miss this? Like the afterglow of numerous spells all happening at once and, all this stuff. Like, of course I'm going to come here. Well, where was the Sorcerer Supreme during all this? Now, forget where was anyone else. Like, everyone, forget the Avengers for leaving this poor woman on her own to deal with all this drama. Where was Strange?
I will say, I don't quite want to call Strange the MCU Sorcerer Supreme yet. Because I don't think he's there yet.
No, I feel like agree. He's definitely not.
I feel like there will be a moment where he's given the title.
He needs his Avengers Assemble moment. And that's clearly what they're building up to.
I feel like Strange gets plausible deniability for not being there. If for no other reason, I don't know if necessarily he would know what he's looking for to know that like there's a disturbance in the magic force.
I mean, there is that argument to make. Like, if he doesn't think chaos magic is real, if they're going that route, he might not be attuned to any of it.
like if he doesn't think it's real, or again, like he doesn't know what he doesn't know, and isn't aware of the fact that he can just kind of like, put up the magic antenna and go, what the shit is happening in Jersey?
Which, by the way, I really hope is what the cape is in the comics with the spikes on top. It's just can we get that in the MCU and it kind of like beeps every time like he's near something?
I like that. And I also think that, after the fall of the Avengers and the events of Infinity War and 5 years of, who knows what the hell happened to the magic community, like, do we know if Wong survived the snap? Like, what was the leadership of all of the sanctums? And like, everything had to have just been gutted.
I believe the guy who played Wong said he did survive and that he was in the sanctum for the 5 years. I think all we really know at this point is half of them went. Like everything else, it's the easy answer. Half of them went, and that's it.
Yeah,
that's all we can really surmise about that. I assume we're going to find out in Multiverse of Madness to some extent, because you have to.
Yeah.
Why would you never touch on that? It'd be kind of weird. But
I think it'd also be interesting to play with whatever Mordo's been up to.
I say
and how the snap may have affected that. Yeah.
Was Mordo even? Maybe Mordo is one of the 50% that went.
And put all those plans behind.
Or maybe you could be like, well, half of them are gone. That's just the right amount of wizards or sorcerers. There's no longer too many. Thanos done me a favor. He did my job for me. And now he's just really pissed that the other half came back. He's like, oh, God damn it. I thought I was done.
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of interesting ways Wanda can play in, but I like the idea that she goes hunting for Billy and Tommy.
I would say my personal thing, my personal theory is I believe she's trying to make the kids again. I think that's her intention at the end of the show, is she wants to make that family again. She has a very interesting line at the end where she says, thanks for choosing me to be your mum, which, by the way, crushed my soul. That absolutely broke me. The way she delivers that line and just the whole scenario, heartbreaking. Couldn't talk about that thing for a week. I don't know how I got through it on the commentary me and Armin did, but I did it without crying, and I was surprised. But
see, almost anytime I watch something that makes me cry, I have a pre-cry where like I feel my chest get tight.
I try and do that, but I am absolutely I cry at the drop of a hat. Even just thinking about some of those scenes, I'm like, breathe and breathe. And then
that's what I'm saying. Is it like I feel like it's like the first wave of like a warning shot of a cry coming, and like I started to feel it for the kids with like, thanks for choosing me to be your mom. I'm like,
it's hard.
Right.
If they did nothing else right in this show, the emotional impact this show had, man, it crushed me from top to bottom.
The part that finished me off was if we've said goodbye before we can say hello again. At that point, I'm just like, like I was weeping again. I'm alone in my room.
I'm just
4
thankful
in the morning.
It's dark. I'm alone. I'm not a loud crier, so no one can hear me, and I can just weep silently into the night.
I remember I was watching an episode of WandaVision. I want to say it was episode 7 with my dad. And like, he just like impulsively was like, I want to watch the last 30 minutes of Endgame again. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to stop you. Put it on, man. And we're watching it. It was the first time I've like watched Endgame like on Disney Plus the whole way through, not like catching it on TV or something like that. And we're watching it, and like we get to Avengers Assemble, and I'm weeping like it's opening night again. I'm like shaking on the couch with excitement at it. And then we get
so
to
earned. That's the thing. That's what they do best in these things. Is they earn everything. I don't think there's any one thing I can say they haven't actually earned.
here's my thing with watching Endgame. I watch it, I get just as emotional as I did opening night for all of it. And it's this weird like roller coaster I go on because I'm like crying and shaking with excitement at Avengers Assemble. And then I kind of like level out at glee watching the fight. And then my heart sinks into my stomach when Tony dies. And then I'm just like crying and crying and crying and crying for the message and I love you 3000 and the arc reactor and proof that Tony Stark has a heart. I'm weeping. I start to come down. Cheeseburgers. Fuck. And then I'm like,
I hated them for so long for that. Oh man, just sitting there in the theater. It's all all dark. Everyone's trying not to cry because they don't think anyone else is crying because we're English and we don't show emotions like that. And you just hear this like, there's no more sad bits. And then the 6 people that get the cheeseburgers are like, for fuck's sake, why? Just like, why, Marvel?
and then I'm gone again. And then, so I'm like, oh man, Endgame is so fulfilling. And then me being me, I just kind of stop, take a beat and go, where was this for Rise of Skywalker? And then I just get angry. And I'm over here on my on my Raylo soapbox. The Ben didn't deserve to die, but anyway.
But yeah, the kids. I think going back to the whole creation and being a being of spontaneous creation, I think what they're gonna do personally is play off the fact that she has made 2 souls. She's pulled something from somewhere, right? And for They changed a lot from the comics for these movies. They're seemingly getting better at bringing the more ridiculous shit into it. So, we've had these 2 kids. These 2 kids have been in the comics twice. They were babies. They went back. They came back. They were babies again. They came back, and then they're Wiccan at speed. So it's like part of their story is that they were here. They weren't. They were something else, but they're now this thing again. So I think they have to lean into that so heavily. And it's like, we have the Darkhold, we have Cthulhu. Clearly, he's obviously playing a part. You don't leave her at Wondagore, and I will die on that hill. I died on it in WandaVision. I'll die on it for the movie. And like, he has his own little reality. Maybe they just flip the Mephisto thing and Master Pandemonium thing for Cthulhu, and she's hearing the kids somehow because they're somewhere because she actually made something from somewhere, and now she's going to try and actually make them again. That's my assumption with it.
I don't mind that. And I also, speaking of stuff that got flipped from the comics, and I know whenever, no, I'm trying to remember what episode exactly you guys were on for.
Oh, I can't remember. I tried remembering that the other day, and I was just like, it was something.
Whichever one it was.
It was before Agatha all along. I know that much.
I think it might have been the Halloween episode then. Because hold on.
Actually, I think you're right. Yeah, I think it was the Halloween one. If not, it was the one before it.
Yeah. Either one. Yeah, that sounds right. So I was really nervous about White Vision. If for no other reason that I just emotionally wasn't prepared to handle them recreating that scene from the Avengers comic.
Where he's splayed out? Or
no, not where he's splayed out, where he basically tells Wanda, Billy, and Tommy to go fuck themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's like, I remember you, but like I'm like physiologically incapable of giving you shit.
Yeah. That would have been that would have been hard.
And I was like, yeah, Elizabeth Olsen is going to act her ass off, and so are these kids, and so is Paul Bettany, and I'm going to need a drink. Like, I don't need to see this. And I was so nervous going into that.
The worst part, there's still time for that.
I think we dodged the bullet.
No, I don't think we have in the slightest.
And I think it would be really interesting if, and I want to hesitate using the word reward, but payoff, that Wanda, let's say, between the events of WandaVision and her future growth between now and whenever her and Vision are on screen again together, that she has maybe earned the payoff of a reunion with Vision that involves her maybe going on the defensive because you're the one that literally tried to crush my skull like a walnut. And then it's no longer like the Ultron voice filter on him. It's just Wanda. And that she gets to realize that they do get to say hello again.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get that payoff, but I don't see them making it a nice payoff. Nothing can go right for Scarlet Witch. That's kind of like the rule of comics for the last 15 years. She's not allowed to be happy.
Oh, she's like Batman.
She can't. There's no writer in comics, no writer in the movies is going to let this woman be happy. Maybe it's right or wrong. I don't know. Is part of what makes her the fact that she can't be happy. But there's got to be. If they do we get to say hello again bit, it's that white Vision is not the Vision we know. He has the memories of everything. He doesn't have a clue about Westview. He knows that's where he remembered everything and that's where he flew away from. But there was no flashback memory reboot of Westview and the events of WandaVision when Vision gave him back those memories. So him knowing Tommy and Billy at the moment, nah. He has no clue who that is. And just like Vision in Westview, I think that's more of a hint than anything. He found out about everything with Wanda, but that wasn't the Vision that we knew. Now that Vision's gone. They're never bringing that Vision back again. We've had West Vision and now we have White Vision. Those two, well, we now only have White Vision, but they were not the same. And I don't think they're going to play off that White Vision knows who those kids are and it's going to give them a nice moment. Because the ship of Theseus, it all comes down to the damn ship of bloody Theseus. Is the rot the memories? If you take the rot away, is it the ship?
I really hope that the reason we only really see clips from like Age of Ultron, Civil War, and Infinity War is, I hope it's only showing us a highlight reel, and I hope we do find out that he does have West Vision's memories. I don't know, because I can't think of a reason why it wouldn't. I can't think of a reason why that little memory transfer wouldn't carry with it.
It's not a transfer. He didn't put anything, or at least my takeaway is he didn't put any of himself in there. It was just unlocking. He cracked the password in his brain and just gave him the memory bank back. I think if it was a case of he's transferring anything into him, they would have made a point to have said that. And you could make the case that they didn't need to say it. They showed you it because the little arc reactor thing in his forehead glue yellow and not blue. That's a little visual thing you could say. That's what it was, but
it's the yellow that makes me feel like it was kind of a file transfer. But you're also right, and I kind of keep forgetting that White Vision is the Vision that was killed by Thanos.
Yeah,
and that like it would make sense that his memories stop at pluck.
Yeah. It's also, for me, a more interesting character arc to have that happen and not just be like, oh, yeah, you now know everything else. You know everything, you can now go forward. It's like, no, he knows now he's the Vision. He has his memories up until he dies, but that's not who he is. He's not the Vision that died. He is something else. Who is he? Let's go find out who he is. Like, whether they do the whole moment of like, I don't know who these kids are. I know I had a relationship with you, Wanda, but I don't know. They could go either way with that. But I think they have to play with the idea that this is not the same Vision. that he has to find out who he is now. Maybe that's how we get Viv.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Because he owns the deed, or that they both own that plot of land in Westview. They have a home. The idea of
that he 10 out of 10 stole money from Tony Stark to buy, but yeah.
Hopefully. You can all but hope.
Hopefully. I love Iron Man.
How do the Avengers get paid? How do you afford any plot of land anywhere? I need to know how this all works.
I think that there are some brand deals involved. I think it's a mix of Tony and like Cap being called in to like be on a box of fucking Wheaties.
Got Visionos and all that.
Visionos.
little transparent pieces of marshmallow.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so either way, he's got money. So, if he's got the memories of him, like the last thing that old Vision done was buy that house. That's clearly what he was trying to tell Wanda in Infinity War. Is that no, we got to stop running. Let's just go to New Jersey. So, the idea of him settling down, having a family, is there. So, I doubt they're going to make a series or a movie where he literally does the same thing as Wanda, but it's all robots. I can't see that happening. But the idea of having a family is a real easy way to get to Viv.
You're not wrong. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I just need a goddamn happy ending here. And something that is just completely without being bittersweet, that I just so badly need to see it just be a reunion and a saying hello again. But everything you're saying is probably more likely. And
you can always still have the happy ending afterwards. You just don't necessarily get it straight off the bat.
Boy, do I hope so. Yeah. And I don't want it to be immediate either. Yeah.
I need these two together. They're synonymous. You don't have just the Scarlet Witch. It's always Scarlet Witch and Vision. You don't just ever have the Vision. It's always Vision and Scarlet Witch. Like, yes,
I agree.
You'd be like, oh, look, 2016. They both had their own solo series. Like, yes, they did. But these characters, when was Vision made? Like the 80s or something? For longer than I've been alive, these two have been a thing. It's like separating Iron Man, Cap, and Thor. You just don't do it. Like, these two always need to be. They are a pair. They're perfect for each other. They need to go. Also, I don't think you can separate them with the whole Mind Stone thing. I think they're too. They've made them too interconnected in this for them to ever split.
Yeah, I agree with that. Also, to answer your question, the Vision makes his first appearance in Avengers 57 in 1968.
Oh wow, he's a 60s creation.
I was going to say, I thought he was from the 60s. You threw me.
I'm not entirely sure where I got the 80s from. I don't know if I'm just confusing it with the fact that that's when they had the run this was clearly based off.
That sounds right.
That was like 82 and 86 or 88, I want to say. It was early 80s.
Mitch, I'm rubbing off on you. Just making shit up now.
I'm 90% certain the first Vision of Scarlet Witch run was 1982.
That sounds right. Yeah. That definitely sounds right.
90% certain. If it's 1983, it's 1983. I'm a year out, but early 80s, late 80s. That's what I'm going to stick with. Yeah. So for my entire life, these two have been together, and I'm not ready to see them apart. And it breaks my heart that they're currently apart now. Agreed.
Getting close to the end here. Favorite individual moment of the show?
Oh, favorite.
I tip my hand with Ship of Theseus, but I have more.
I'm going to say the goodbye. Because it's so well earned.
Yeah.
The entire thing phenomenal. Is so well earned. Even just having like 20 minutes of screen time in the movies, I always brought these two as these characters and their relationship. Especially like Infinity War really solidified it. Infinity War, and then her reaction in Endgame, and just this whole thing, like that goodbye, seeing how she made everything, and that clearly fake smile she gives him when he says Wanda, like it's perfect for me. I wouldn't change a damn thing about it.
That's really up there for me as well. I also just really love Wanda's final form moment. And that, because I saw a lot of people on Twitter who were doing the, oh, yay, this whole show about grief and loss is going to devolve into me throw red ball, you throw purple ball.
Yeah. I was so down in it when I first watched it. I was like, really?
I didn't think it was that bad. Like, it really, I didn't think that it had devolved as much as some people thought or said it did. Like, there's a little bit of a magic duel, but most of it comes down to her making Wanda look at what she's been doing. And then it comes back to the,
I say all the bits in between it are fantastic. I think it lingered on her throwing the balls too much. Like, you could have sped that up or just made it like 1 or 2. I don't think you needed to do it for like 5 minutes, whatever it was. Because, everything between it, where Agatha's telling her, heroes don't torture people, where she tries to get in Agatha's mind and it turns on her. Like, if it was more that sort of stuff the entire way through, perfect. I thought they absolutely would have nailed it. They fumbled the landing slightly. I don't hold it against him in the slightest. Wasn't the greatest.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And I wouldn't have minded something a little bit more akin to like the little duel that Thanos and Strange have.
Yeah.
But I think again, Wanda doesn't know how to cast spells yet.
No, but it was a very one-sided thing. It's just like, I'm just going to float here and absorb everything you throw at me. Like, okay.
Yeah.
This was a creative choice.
I agree with that. That was something I was going to bring up next. Is I think that Agatha's aware of the fact that Wanda kind of has one trick that she's cognizant of, and that's just energy blasts.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I can just feed off of this. So I will keep this on your terms, if for no other reason than you're just acting as a battery for me. And, congratulations on doing the finale of Ang Lee's Hulk better than Ang Lee's Hulk did.
Yeah, I mean, they did the Incredible Hulk better than the Incredible Hulk. Let's be honest. Same post-credit scene, but she does it far better. Far better.
Listen, I watched the dog shit out of Ang Lee's Hulk when I was a kid, and I remember watching it where one was like, "Take it all." I was like, "Oh, no." I'm like, Eric Bana better be getting some royalties on this sumbitch. Hold on.
I seen that movie once, and that's when it came out, and never again. I will never watch that movie again.
Yeah, you can't say the same, but I was little. I do like their fight a lot, and I do like the way that Wanda being a quick learner, because I like the fact that she becomes aware of the fact that Agatha is goading her into being a battery. So that Wanda's strategy becomes, I am going to let you think that I am still being led along by you, when in reality, she's like re-hexing everything to become rooms.
I will say,
I love that.
The idea behind it, because so many people pointed it out. You're watching it and wondering why she's missing. You are doing the same thing as Agatha. You're like, why she's never missed me before? Why is she now suddenly missing every other one? Right. And then it's like, oh yeah, look. And it did take me a while to kind of clock the fact that she's a fast learner because she doesn't need to know the incantation. She's just got to think of what she wants and just like, hey, here's this thing. Like, oh, I want magic protection runes. Just let me throw my red balls at the wall and hey, there's a magic incantation rune protection. Like, it did take me a while to kind of clock that. It's just like the execution of it probably could have been a little bit better. But I think a lot of it's more due to COVID and the whole pandemic and having to shut down. We know there were rewrites for the finale.
Yeah. For sure.
Some of those rewrites or rewrites even, it's like I could have I can do without seeing the giant demonic rabbit. I know Ebony does that in the comics. I can do without that here. It may be a bit too much, a bit too comic booky, but
Yeah, I will say, and there's something I like a lot about the fight between Agatha and Wanda, and that, this comes up a lot whenever we do our versus series for the Patreon, like the Star Wars versus series, that when talking about the Force, that power and skill are two different things that go hand in hand very well.
Yeah, 100%.
And the way we normally describe it is Anakin Skywalker, incredibly powerful, and because he can coast on his power, does not put a whole lot of value into skill. There isn't a whole lot of nuance and finesse in his use of the Force. Obi-Wan Kenobi, average at best in terms of raw power, incredibly skillful to the point where he can match the Chosen One. And
there's a vast difference. There's a canyon in between the two, and people need to realize that more, I think.
Exactly. So I like that that's how this fight plays out with Wanda and Agatha, is that you have Wanda who's all power, very little skill, but also is a fast learner. So you have Agatha who's basically like racing against the clock to see how quickly she can put Wanda down, and it doesn't work.
Which is, she's a fast learner. What is she going to do with that Darkhold is my question. Obviously, I've got my theory about the kids, but something. You don't just read the Book of the Damned. You don't. You don't just casually, sit on the toilet while you're doing a 2 and just like read the, Oh, that's how.
Kick up your feet with a glass of wine.
Yeah, it's not something you read by candlelight and enjoy yourself. No, it's not. It's not a page turner, really, is it?
No, not really. Oh, that's funny. Do you have any other favorite moments before we get to the end point here?
Cop out the most of the show. The majority of the show. 90% of it. 95%.
That's valid. I don't blame you.
Especially on a rewatch, it's so hard just to go, this is a good moment. This is a favorite moment. Because it all... Not to say that, stories don't all lead to the same point. But everything is in service of getting Wanda through this. There's not one thing that's out of place to get her through this. And I can't separate one thing from another. It's just this is an entire show, to be honest. But I do also really like the dialogue when Agatha and Wanda are fighting, and she ends on that. I don't need you to tell me who I am, because she is just literally standing there going like, "You're this thing. You are meant to do this because this is you." And she's like, I never learnt magic. I don't know this. I don't know that. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you're talking about. That's not who I am. That's not me. This whole thing isn't me. I've accepted that I've done this thing. I need to get past it now. So probably the dialogue. Like the dialogue. The dialogue in this show is my favorite thing, because it's just so good. It works on so many levels.
I agree. What is grief if not love persevering is also up there.
What a line.
Real quick before we get into final thoughts and letter grades here, Joel texted me earlier, aware of the fact that he was not going to be able to be on for the WandaVision review, but also did not want his voice not be present on it. So I have a small essay written by Joel that he texted me. Hello, everybody. Sorry I couldn't be here to say this in person for you, but I am really busy writing an essay. As for WandaVision, 100,000 out of 10. WandaVision is my absolute favorite, best project that Marvel has ever put together. It was masterfully and strategically crafted in a complex and dumbfounding script that I can only commend and bow down to Schaefer and Shackman for. Their ability to enter in a completely new saga while holding each viewer in agonizing suspense at times of shock and at times of complete tears is nothing short of amazing. Incredible use of traditional camera work and scene changes from the moment that the aspect ratio change was immaculate. My favorite part of the entire season, as none will be shocked, was Hex Vision v. White Vision, quote unquote, meaning of life, battle of wits. All caps, so good, and OMG, how they had Wanda use the Mind Stone powers to create a true replicate of Vision and her powers, and how they were used by the transitive property used to resurrect the real White Vision. The debate I had in my head was whether or not he really is the true White Vision, and I would say that he is, because even though he doesn't have the Mind Stone anymore, the same Mind Stone energy was used to restore him and his memories. I don't have to explain the mastery at work there to close all of the possible plot holes. Am I the only one that had my brain exploded at how perfect that was done? Anyways, to close, the only thing I didn't like was the absolute out of nowhere, it was Agatha all along villain reveal. I thought that it was the most ridiculous transition. I loved it, but I also thought it wasn't well executed. Looking back at the things she did during the whole thing blew my mind, but don't get me wrong, personally not a fan of how abrupt it was. 100 out of 10, boys. So abruptly it decreased very, very much at the end there. But thoughts from Joel the Sentinel Basin back.
I was going to say, the Agatha bit's interesting, and I know you were going to bring up something about Agatha earlier, and I don't think you actually got around to it.
No, because I was saving it for my final thoughts.
Oh, for your final thoughts, okay.
Because it's kind of the clunkiest part of the show for me.
Really?
I'll say it here. I liked Agatha all along in theory, because the way they frame it, it starts to feel like she's been moving the pieces, kind of to steal what you had said. Wanda's the director, someone else is the showrunner. I thought they were going all the way on that. When in reality, I
completely forgot I said that. And I was like, that's a really good line. I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I wonder what Jesus came up with that. I really thought that was the direction they were about to take. And then you find out, no, it hasn't been Agatha all along. It's here's a handful of situations that Agatha was playing to her advantage.
Well, here's the thing. It is like there's like obviously it's not saying she's responsible for why it's here. It's her all along for why it's seemingly falling apart. Obviously, the whole magic act thing, it was more Vision just casually eating a stick of gum, but she let Scratchy out, which helped. That's the only clunky bit for me. That wasn't necessarily adding to anything with that episode. Like it was all going wrong without her. So the rabbit.
That's what I mean. Is it like what was Agatha up to all along? Aside from putting fake Pietro on the board and like killing the dog, what did she do? Like it's kind of implied that there comes a point where she's like actively using part of the hex against her, like the "well, do you blame yourself" stuff, and we see her behind the camera for the Modern Family bit and all that. But like to say it was Agatha all along makes it sound like she helped Wanda do this or made Wanda do this or played a role in us getting here. And it felt really weird because it felt like for the last 2 episodes, the show couldn't quite decide, did Wanda do this and it was an accident and it was a response of grief, or is Wanda a puppet?
I say I didn't personally take it as Agatha's responsible for this thing being here, or Agatha pushed Wanda into it. For me, it was more of as I just said, it's Agatha's the reason why things were starting to go wrong and why Wanda was losing control of it, because everything, it's like the reason why Wanda's there in the first place. Small little things pile up, and eventually it's all going to come crumbling down. And she, as she says, she's tried to coerce her out of this delusion. And seemingly the last resort is Pietro. And it's just like, right, if she believes this, she's going to believe anything. Like, this is the only way I'm going to actually get her to open up and talk about what's going on here. So let's just make a fake brother. I think that's more what it's like. All the little things were Agatha, not the big overarching thing. I think it's more what's getting at.
Yeah, and that makes sense. It's just, it's the framing for me that doesn't work. And again, as much as I love the Agatha all along scene and the song and the reveal,
it's all in the pursuit of knowledge. That's all, because that's all she's after, isn't it? She's only trying to find out how she's done this. Was it Matt Shackman and Jack Schaefer have said, there's no big villain, there's no big bad in this. If there is one, it is the grief and the trauma Wanda's gone through. Like, Agatha is purely an antagonist who just wants to know how she's done it because she thinks she has to know how it's done because she wants to get stronger. It's a very thin motivation to an extent, but I don't know. I didn't get the impression they were saying that she was like the cause and reason, personally.
And that's fair. And I think it's the verbiage of Agatha all along that really just kind of muddies the water. That again, because part of that's the fan theory discourse is that like everybody's going back and forth. Like, okay, how did this happen? How did we get here? Like my theory for the longest time was, again, factoring in Mephisto, that okay, like in the comic, Agatha and Mephisto are working together. Agatha's Mephisto's spy and like eyes, boots on the ground, like kind of fly on the wall. And this was created with Mephisto's help. This hex was created because Mephisto helped her create this. And it was a deal with the devil. And then to go, it was Agatha all along goes, okay, like now we're figuring out, like Agatha helped build this world. And like, again, maybe it was my own predisposition. Maybe I'm part of the problem, what we were making fun of earlier. But that's where my brain went, where like it's Agatha all along. Agatha's planned all of this out. Agatha's taking advantage, and that it wasn't just Agatha kind of like walked in 15 minutes late and went, what the shit is happening? And then put herself on the board. But
you're saying she's, for lack of a better word, a self-insert. She's just like, oh, I'm going to plug myself in here. I'm a part of this game now.
100%.
Because I think for the most part, I think they made her the audience. Her motivation is exactly what we wanted to know. How has she done this?
What the hell is happening? Yeah.
Yeah. And so I need to know how she's done this. I need to know who she is. Have you rewatched the entire season?
I've not. I did not get a chance to like rewatch it all in one fell swoop yet.
Well, watch it back to back because, for me anyway, I think they done the Agatha thing really well. There's a lot of like, hang on a minute. Like you can't look at Pietro and go, oh look, his back's glowing. Like they didn't do anything like that because that would have been a dead giveaway from the start. But
oh yeah, 100%. We all were. Whenever we did our first, like the review of the first 2 episodes, I was like, this is Agatha Harkness, and no, no, I see what you're up to, lady, and I'm not buying it. And I very quickly fell down okay, well, if Agatha's here and they're all going to have the happy family and all of this stuff, it's got to be Mephisto and there's got to be babies. And then we know what happened there.
So, because listen to how she asked all the question when she first comes in the first episode. And then when Wanda's talking to Pietro, the way he says and questions things and how he acts, especially when she sees the bullet holes and his little like you can take that in several different ways. Like you can, now it's Agatha, you're like that's definitely someone trying to find out something, because he's obviously you knew it from the start anyway that he's trying to get information, but now you know exactly who and why and everything.
Yeah. I agree with you on that one for sure. Well, Mitch, I am unplugging my headphones for the 3rd time here because I'm bad at this.
Unplugging
if you would like to give your final son of a bitch. This show's full of technical difficulties this week. One moment. Is one thing after another this week, folks. Again, the way we have things set up, the little headphone bank over here has a tendency to just kind of like randomly unplug itself. So I was like halfway through my sentence and I went, and there it goes. Anyway, final thoughts and letter grade, my friend.
Oh, it's definitely one of my favorite things, if not my favorite. Me and Armin had this like a good quarter of an hour conversation. Not me and Armin, sorry, me and Sean had a good like conversation about, I don't know. Actually, what was it, Mimi? I can't even remember who I was talking to at this point. I just know there was a conversation about this. I'm not sure roughly where. I'm not, because it's a TV show compared to a movie. Like, can I put it like with everything else? Can I say it's my favorite thing I've ever done? Like, which the more I think about it, the more I lean on. It's like, yeah, it's my favorite thing. I think a lot of personal bias in that, but at the same time, they set out to do something different, and 98% of that they nailed it. There's just a one creative choice that I don't personally agree with, but it doesn't affect the end result in the slightest. It wrapped.
Is that just Hayward or like
what, the creative choice?
Yeah.
No, it's just the action.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I can't decide if the action is like how it is because it's still technically in a sitcom world, or because it would explain a lot. Everyone being like, "Oh, it's a Disney Channel. Like, this thing's a Disney Channel original movie." Like, it would explain a lot why it looks the way it does, because they're still playing on a sitcom fact, because they're still in it. Like, they might have moved past it, but you're looking at it, they're very much still in this thing. She's still wearing her Modern Family clothes and everything.
Yeah,
so I can't decide if. In my head, it's better to lean on it being that, and then I can just go, I think it was perfect from top to bottom. It was nigh on flawless, and it can easily go at the top. But it's like, am I just deluding myself into thinking that, or no? It's at the end of the day, it's up there. It's easily up there with what they've done. Now, some people have got in the middle, which is it's fine. It's not going to change the world. It didn't need to be. It changed how they could tell a story. But yeah, I think easily top three for me.
And a letter grade, if you're capable of such a thing.
Letter grades. Numbers and letters, we don't get on. I don't do math and words good. If you notice, I always avoid giving numbered scores. It's just like, no, I really liked it. And it's like, I don't like giving a number because people always misconstrue.
That's why I prefer letter grades. It's a lot easier to be like, it's a lot easier to kind of like be on a gradient with a letter grade, in my opinion. At least that's what I try to do.
What percentage for Americans is a C?
It honestly depends on like the school or university. I know when I was in high school, like a C was like, it was really weird C's, because it was basically like low 80s to like mid 70s, and I was like, y'all are casting a wide net here. I don't know. I think like
now I'm struggling to remember what ours is. It's been so long.
I'd probably say like anywhere from like 70 to 79 is probably C tier.
And what's A?
I'd say like 90 to 100.
I'll give it an A. I'll give it a solid A. Yeah.
Solid A.
Yeah.
I am not too far behind you. I love this. I think that this is the most adventurous thing in the MCU's ever done. I think that what we're going to have with WandaVision and the rest of the MCU is going to be very similar to the way that we discuss Spider-Verse and all the other Spider-Man movies.
100%.
That you can't compare it. It's able to do things that the other movies can't do. and saying, oh, well, Spider-Verse is better than Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man Far From Home, yada, 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 is hard to compare because it's better because it's doing things the others can't.
Yeah, and it's doing it because it's animated. You can do so much more in animation than you can in live action.
So when comparing it to the rest of the MCU, I feel like WandaVision has to exist, ironically, in its own little reality that I can't, like when Falcon and the Winter Soldier comes out, how am I going to compare the two? Like,
yeah, you can't. I think the only comparable thing you're going to get there is structure. I think this show shined a spotlight on exactly how they're approaching making these shows, and that's the only comparison you're going to get. Like,
and that's the thing.
At the end of the day, is it going to end with Sam getting the suit and the shield and the title? Absolutely.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, it's the age-old trope of comic book shows. It ends with him getting the name and the suit.
Well, again, like 5 weeks from now, whenever Falcon and the Winter Soldier wraps up, like what? How am I supposed to go? Okay, well, here's this 9-episode like allegorical mystery about grief and trauma versus
this spotlight on American racism in history and all that.
A political action thriller. Like, how am I supposed to compare these two stories? And, they're different in format. They're different in tone. They're different in the actual text of the stories. And, they're very different in presentation.
Yeah. Yeah.
With, okay, we're going to go through like the eras of TV comedy versus it's a political thriller.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think I'd ever be able to like adequately compare WandaVision to anything else.
No, but it's funny how this conversation has come back around because people had this exact same talk with Winter Soldier and Guardians. Like 7 years ago, people in the exact same spot. And like, I think the TV shows eventually you can be able to compare because they are going to be so different. Kind of like the movies to an extent, they are very similar. They do have that Marvel formula, for lack of a better phrase. But I think with these shows, we're in such a different age and they are going to be trying a lot of new. It's like we've gone back to Iron Man 1. It's like, no, this is an experiment. We're starting again. We've got the world to a point where nothing's off the table anymore. People can buy into 6 magic space rocks that can do whatever the fuck you want at a click of your finger. There's nowhere we can't go. So it's going to be, I think we kind of have to start again in ranking, in comparing, not ranking, but at least comparing these things.
I agree with you. All of that said, like I said, the Agatha reveal, as much as I enjoy it, kind of like what Joel said, didn't quite work for me. Left me with more questions than I had answers. But again, maybe that's my own fault. But I'm clocking in at an A- for WandaVision overall. And I would hazard a guess that Travis and Lexi would not be far behind. I think actually last week, Lexi even made a joke where she's like, I'm giving this show an A+, and that's done and dusted.
So the part of the beauty of this show was those first 8 episodes, they could have done whatever the hell they wanted in that finale and it wouldn't have changed a thing.
I don't think you're wrong.
Like they could have sunk that thing completely. And it's like, no, I still have these 8 episodes. As long as it had the goodbye at the end of the finale, I think it would be fine.
I agree with you. Well, Mitch, it has been a blast having you on again. And I say that like I'm not going to be hearing from you guys again very soon, as will our listeners. But where can the lovely people find you until we go all in on the Snyder Cut?
That's if I survive that long. Who knows? Am I going to make past those 4 hours? If I make it to those 4 hours and make it past it, you can find me on Twitter at Mitch692 and of course at YouTube / I think it's ComicBookCast 2. I don't know the URL because I'm bad at this.
I am 99% sure that is it.
As Joe used to say, just Google ComicBookCast. It will come up.
Yeah, that one works as well.
You don't have to remember all different link names. It's just Google us. It sounds really stuck up and egotistical. Just Google me. I'll come up.
I mean, hey, it gets the job done. You guys are huge for a reason. And I did my spiel the last time.
But thanks for having me on. I'm gonna. There's actually one thing I was gonna bring up. I meant to bring it up last time. That
okay.
Actually, do I say? I can't say now. Something they left out of the show that didn't make it past the idea stage for this was
is this intel you guys have?
Yeah. Was Josh Brolin was supposed to be in the show along with a certain other 4 people.
We're going to talk after I hit the end recording button. Yeah. Again, thank you very much to Mitch. Please go watch and listen to ComicBookCast for a better version of what I rip off. I
mean, I've ripped up everyone else, so it's the nature of YouTube.
It's just all cyclical. It's all, it's like poetry. It rhymes.
You think Hollywood's out of ideas. God Christ. YouTube had one and people ran with it. So.
Listen, there's 2 ways to be a nerd on the internet and on YouTube. Either you talk about what's happening and you do like actual reviews, or you like angrily masturbate to Brie Larson, and those are your only options.
It's true. Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of gradient there. Either you're an angry incel, or you just you like talking about the things that you like, and you're not a psychopath about it. Crazy, right?
Both had ups and downs, I assume.
Oh yeah, I listen. We could have like 1 million subscribers tomorrow if it was just like 3 days of like 18 different 20-minute long videos about how Brie Larson is the coming of the Antichrist. But there's a lot of money to be made there, and we would like to be able to sleep at night.
I agree.
So, not trying to get down with the alt-right mania, but you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DarkJedi2552, and you can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and on our website, www.thenerdacademypodcast.com, where if you're feeling generous, you can donate to our Patreon page. Speaking of our patrons, thank you to our $10 alumnus, Case and Brion, the Waffle Wizard, Delta 9, and Zach Knaus. You guys help us make the content we love to produce. Check out the $5 tier if you're so interested. We have our Knights of the Nerd Republic versus series. Our most recent episode, Darth Malgus versus Kyle Katarn, is up now. And for April, we're going to be doing the Grand Inquisitor versus Executor Cedrus. Got another Legends versus Canon matchup for you guys again this coming month. Check out Heroic History 101, the show where Travis and I review older comic book stories. We just did Volume 1 of Nick Spencer's Captain America, Sam Wilson. Had a lot of fun with that. And you get the audio commentary tie-ins to Nerd Academy Movie Club, the most recent of which is Devin and I trying really hard not to start drinking in the middle of the day, watching the ultimate cut of Batman v Superman.
Did you do it, though?
No, because I had to work afterwards. It's a bad look when the bartender shows up drunk. It's a really bad look. And if you would like to support the Nerd Academy even further, you can check out our TeePublic. Click on the student store link on our website, and that'll take you to where you can get all kinds of Nerd Academy merch and goodies, t-shirts, masks, hoodies, phone cases, you name it, we got it. Go check it out. With that, thank you very much, Mitch. Well, we are honored that you have joined us.
Thanks for having me again. It's fun. It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely, my friend. And class dismissed.